Welcome to another beautiful day on planet Earth. Although in both locations here, it is a little overcast and cloudy, but we have to embrace whatever God gives us. It is another day of Dose of Did You Know, where inspiring, intriguing, unique individuals come to talk about love and life. I am your host, Danny Rocco, and with me today is Trevor. Trevor, you are like living the life on a golf course, taking a little time out to share your love. I love it. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I love that you are at a golf course and we're doing this. I mean, come on. What kind of life is that?
Yeah, this was just like a random last minute invite. So I feel really lucky as well.
You've got it all going on. But before we get started, tell the world a little bit about who Trevor is, because I feel you're a little eclectic. Have all of these really cool things that you do, all kind of webbed together. I feel like you're the male version of me. Sorry, that could be an insult. I don't know, but that's how I'm feeling it today.
Yeah, that's a lot of the feedback that I get is, man, you're all over the place. I never know what you got your hands into. And that's just due to me focusing on other people and their projects. And that's the way I've built my own brand as Trevor the Connector is, I do have my own projects, but during their development, I focus on other people, and it all just kind of falls into place. So I hear that all the time.
So, you know what someone said to me today, actually, when I was not today, but the other day when I was in Arizona, they said, Danielle, you're like a button. I never heard of like connectors or like someone who does that as being called a button. So you know what? You're a button, Trevor. You connect, right? A button.
Okay.
That's what they told me because I was a connector. They said you're a button, and I totally get it. You button people together. Okay, see, this is probably when you say, I don't want to be in your mind, Danielle. I don't want to be like that because.
No, it makes sense. And that's kind of how I found my success. That's who I am. I am a direct product of my network and sphere of influence. So that's exactly why it looks like that. And the way I succeed is by supporting these other veterans in their ventures. And 100% of them are all worthy. And the more I invest into them, what I learned is the more I pour into other people and their projects wholeheartedly that align with mine, it comes back tenfold. So it's counterintuitive to most. Trevor, how are you so successful, or how are you connected to all these people? And it's really the selfless attitude, but then understanding the selfish return on investment, if that makes any sense.
It totally makes sense, because it's knowing your value, right? You have to know your value. You have to know your worth to be able to receive what comes back. Because I do believe, like, the more you give, the more that comes back. But if you don't if you're not a little bit, I like that. It's a little selfish. It's a little, call it whatever, but in a healthy, purposeful way it's supposed to be.
Well, that's the way I found my purpose, because I was completely lost. And I guess one of the questions that we talked about earlier backstage was, who am I? How did I become the person that I am? Or like, what do you got going on? It's all predicated on everybody else's projects. So that's how I learned my purpose, is living vicariously through these other veterans that have incredible projects going on. And I learn what aligns with me and what I like and what I love and what I want to be involved in. And sometimes it doesn't align, and that's okay.
Right.
But that's how I've found, that's really how I've developed my purpose, is just pouring into other people regardless of what they have going on.
Well, how did that start? Have you always been like that? That's a big deal. Like having your whole who you are being giving to other people. And I so love that, because you really do find out what you like, what you don't like, what resonates with you, where your heart is drawn. But how do you end up there?
It started in 2014. I was stepping down from a company that I helped develop, multi-million-dollar roofing company that we built from just a one small shop in a small Murfreesboro town. And I had been there for 4 years, and we were extremely successful. And I just felt something calling me back to Nashville, something telling me to set some roots and, kind of create some stability away from the travel that I had been, called to for that job.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a plan. I had 2 business ownership opportunities lined up. Everything was right in line, and it completely fell apart. So within 2 weeks, I had quit my job. Well, no, I take that back. Before I quit my job, I leveraged my job to buy a condo in downtown Nashville. And I had a $70,000 truck at the time, $800 a month payment, making great money, and just took this coincidental leap of faith. I had a plan, and my plan completely fell apart through no fault of my own. And it brought me to, I got invited to a church in Nashville called Crosspoint. And not that it was really this Christian draw or this Christianity, religious draw. It was the faith-based approach to accomplishing my goals and missions. I got invited 5 times to this place called Crosspoint, and I had nothing else going on. Like, I was dead in the water at that point because my plan literally dissolved. And so I volunteered to be the golf cart team leader at that church. And literally that was how I found the value of pouring into other people and not worrying about myself, because I had bills. Mm-hmm. I had, to sell my truck at that point. I was worried about losing my condo. So I had needs and I had fears. And those fears were really resolved by me not worrying about myself and not being worried about my circumstances. And for 3 months, I volunteered, and through that was networking, coincidentally, not intentionally, but I was lifted up big time through that experience. And I wasn't doing anything special, but it was
right before that. When you were like, you took this kind of like leap of faith, or that you made this change in your life, were you feeling, because it's funny that we're talking about this today, because I wrote in my private group, and I write for this blog, the David Johnson Show, whatever, and I'm writing this, and it was all on change, right? So like my next blog is about change, and how do you know, and what does change mean to you? So were you feeling before this, like you kind of moved and you did all this, did you have like an unsettlingness inside you? Did you have or was it just like this opportunity came and you were going to do it? No, like what made you make that shift?
It was complete anxiety. It was discomfort. It was depression. I felt like I had failed, and I felt like it was my fault. And then very quickly, but gradually, I started to learn that the more I poured into other people, the more that my goals were fulfilled. And I'm talking about, I quit counting. I remember telling the testimony, I hadn't told it in a while, but I quit counting at like 24 things that I would consider miracles, like checks showing up in the mail that were 10 cents over exactly what I needed to pay my bills, and people coming into my life, and people having other opportunities that led to the next opportunity that led to the next opportunity that were completely unplanned. And there's no way to anticipate that, but I kept walking, and like I said, I don't refer to these experiences as necessarily religious, but it was just, they were put in my path. It kept happening. And so that's when I started this journey of completely pouring into other people, not expecting anything in return. And therefore this tenfold effect started happening. And it's when you see the results of a counterintuitive pursuit, and you're like, this doesn't feel right. Why am I volunteering at a church when I need a job? I have to pay, $2,500 in bills every month. It makes no sense. And those are the most impactful things, when it doesn't make sense, but it still works.
How did you do it though? That is That is it.
It
What
wasn't me.
what were you thinking when you're like, was it you just drawn? Like sometimes I get so drawn and it makes completely no sense, but I'm like, this is what I need to do.
I'll tell you exactly what it was. It was my vulnerability. It produced my vulnerability. I was scared to death. I had to lean on other people. And when I got to the point where I didn't have the answers, I had to go to other people. And then it just so happened that I started filling other people's needs, not thinking about my own needs. And then that person and that person, and that person, it was all connected in the universe, started pouring back into me. And like, that was the turning point, is my vulnerability. Like, I had to get to rock bottom and know that I couldn't do it by myself. And the only way that I could lift myself up was to lift other people up. And
Oh, I like that. You know what I felt on my heart when you were talking is that your vulnerability actually showed you your worth, like your worth, not the worth from what you produce, not the money that was coming in and the companies you built and blah, blah, blah. Your actual pure worth you found by the vulnerability, because you were seeing how with nothing but you were making an impact in people's life, or it was, or, you know, in whatever way that was. Yeah, that's what came on my heart.
I told everybody at the moment, and even as I would give my testimony to encourage other people, I'm like, it ain't me. I didn't mastermind this whole plan and establish all these relationships intentionally. Like, they literally came into my life. And then, just like you said, I learned how to receive that. Mm-hmm. So and I'll kind of use hand motions. The one way that I really started to develop as a charitable human is learn how to receive those blessings, receiving the blessings, and being aware enough to receive the blessings, but then immediately share it as if it's not mine in the first place. So I would get a little bit of money, and like, for instance, let's say, you know, I had $1,500 in bills coming up and I got $1,600. I started testing this faith idea. I'm like, well, this person's asking for $300 for a nonprofit. It aligns with me and I feel called to it. So I'm going to give the $300, knowing that now I'm at a $200 deficit. But it, like, every time that I would give up that worry, and some would say that could be viewed as irresponsible.
Right.
But that's what kind of faith is that irresponsible trust in the universe to take care of it and provide what you actually need as opposed to what you want.
Mm-hmm. And I think at the time, when we have those, the trusting, right? You letting go of control and trusting. I think it's different for everybody. So yours might have been the actual physical money part of it, you know, and I'm not saying it was, but
right.
But that's what it could be with other people. It could be something totally different, not money. And I think when we hear these stories, people's testimonies, people's way of how they learn to like love and live, we interpret it as, oh, I have to give my money away. But that might not be your way of testing faith and becoming the person you're supposed to be. Do you think like that?
See, it's really tough because you have to take something that's uncertain and then give full certainty in it. And letting go of my image of success or progress was a big part of it. And just kind of going with the flow and trusting the process. Because then I wasn't disappointed anymore. I wasn't disappointed in myself, which would lead to depression. And this isn't going the way I planned it. And when I completely let go of that and started serving other people, that allowed me more abundant tools and resources and networks to get to the next phase of something beyond my own understanding.
Yeah.
It's really weird. It's hard. It's hard to coach it because even as a coach, you're scared to death that it might be wrong. But the whole thing is that nothing's wrong.
Right.
None of it's good, bad, or ugly. It all just is. And putting one step before the other, putting one foot before the other, and just making progress one tiny bit at a time is the most important thing. Just showing up.
Yeah. You know, I always say, and even when I was coaching people now. We talk about coaching and when I was coaching CEOs, whatever it was, in athletics and anything, right? It's always like, you have the power and the key within yourself, right? Other people can guide, can be an examples, and we need mentors, and we need to look on how other people have success and how they've gotten to where they are. Hence the whole premise of this show, to make that connection with people. But you know what's aligned with you here. You feel it. You have the key. And I think one of the mistakes people make, or maybe it's I've made, is that we try to replicate someone else's.
Yeah. That image of success is so different for everybody else. And that's another thing that I coach, is that finding your why is all about knowing thyself. And that's another thing. Thank you for bringing it up. I hadn't had this conversation in forever. I sat down and I got to the point where I was desperate, and I started taking every single self-identification platform known to man. So Strength Finders, Enneagram, love languages.
I love the Enneagram. Actually, I'm like, I dig it. Like, love, like, yeah.
All of it. You have to know who you are to know what your value is, only not to invest back into yourself with that idea or that information and that knowledge. It's what you can give to other people.
Mm-hmm.
And then, it comes around full circle, but that knowing who you are and know thyself, I think, is the first step. And especially as veterans, we don't have that self-identification. We've been told, good boy, you're good at this job. This is what we've told you to do, and you're doing well. So we identify with that. And we think that's our identity. And then we get out of the military and you're like, oh my God, what do I do? Who am I?
Right.
Well, I think it's very important for veterans to sit down and take a hard look and go through 10 different platforms, put them all on the kitchen table, find exactly what the similarities and the differences are, and then take that map and take that confidence of who you are, and then focus on pouring it into other people. And that could look like a job. Because I didn't even know what a director of business development was. And now that I work for an attorney in real estate and everything's going great, I would have never gotten there unless I broke myself down through those platforms.
We say you get to know who you are, right? And this is I believe this full-heartedly, and I had this conversation actually the other day, was that I'm constantly changing. So every day I have to look at who I am, where I'm going, what am I aligned, what my purpose is, because I am not the same person that I was yesterday. I'm not the same person I was from the conversation. I had a conversation before I got on with you. I was talking with somebody. And from that conversation, I came into our interview a totally different person, a totally different point of love,
Absolutely.
of life, everything. So I feel like we have to recognize out there that it is a constant evolution. You better continuously know who you are. And it also opens your eyes. What do you think about this? This is what I think too, is that you recognize other people for their truth. You're not trying to mirror yourself on them.
Yep. Yeah, that's the goal of a coach, is to take that human with traits and personalities and characteristics and attributes and styles and encouraging that. It's kind of like being a parent. It's like, no matter how weird they are, that you feel that they are, you just encourage them and support them and pour into them. And like the way that the veteran culture has done that, because we're so diverse. Like, you've got different countries, different colors, different everything. And I think that's one of the best trainings I got in the military, is that acceptability to other people and their differences. Yeah. And so you can just you don't have that internal criticism anymore, and you can just meet them where they're at. And I think it's really important for veterans to know who they are. I think that's one of the things that's going to identify with a lot of the anxiety, because that's what it builds, is the confidence. I know who I am. I know what I do. I know what I'm great at. And then it's just, how do you apply that? And then getting confidence to apply it. Like, for instance, my stupid little invention that is completely meaningless 5 years ago. But now it's opened up so many doors because I just kept showing up. Actually, to tell you the truth, it kept putting itself in my life. It kept pursuing me, and I listened. And this little menial tool called Hand Wash HQ has now, 5 years later, become a business. And, we're going into the proof of concept stage. Shout out to Bunker Labs, Veterans Adventure Group, all these other people that are encouraging me. They're like, that's a really good idea. And as stupid as I thought it was, and as scared as I was to share it, it just took that one thing. Just have one thing that's yours, and then just make progress on it, no matter how weird it is. Like, people love the weird stuff. People are drawn towards uniqueness. So if it's stupid, weird, or insignificant, and it's your thing, even better. Do more of it.
Right. And that goes with not just like a thing, kind of with like your personality, the characteristics that you have. I'm always like, embrace the weird, because it's not going anywhere.
The best rock stars are the biggest weirdos. Right. Be a weirdo. Know yourself and be that person, and share it with everybody, and you'll find your tribe. And those are the people that are going to lift you up and allow you to be, kind of who you were called to be, or be your truth, so to speak.
Yeah, those are the ones that I say, like, sometimes, like, when I don't have the strength, like, I'm like, I don't think I can do it. I know I have people that I can borrow their strength till mine, like, I kind of work through whatever.
Remind you who you are.
Yeah. We all need that. Trevor, you're amazing. I know you do great at golfing, because beard guys do golf, just like blondes golf. Maybe not well, but we can.
I look for the ball more often than actually putting it in the fairway, but that's the fun part.
It's an adventure. You're on an adventure today. But before I let you go, I asked you to answer my last question with the first thing that comes to your mind and your heart, no matter how weird, so it's perfect, it may sound to you. Right now in this moment, Trevor, what does love mean to you?
Woo! Man, I'm coming up on the first year anniversary of a new relationship after 8 years. Man, what does love mean to me? Giving 110% to one thing, unabashedly, unbiased, just pouring into somebody, like 110%, like finding that one thing, whether it's a thing or a person or an idea or a cause, finding that one thing that you can pour into and feel fulfilled every day. That's love.
I love it.
Love what you do.
And that sums you up so perfectly. Thank you so much. Go enjoy your game. Go enjoy all the people that you're going to be with today. And to everybody else that is out there listening, remember, as always, love hard, love pure, and love proactive. Till next time, we will see you. Bye-bye.